today's prolific filmmaker Ashutosh Gowarikar. We all have our special memories of watching Lagan, but who better to walk down memory lane with me than the filmmaker himself? Hello and welcome, Ashutosh.
Hi. Nice to talk
Hi,
to
it's
you.
great to have you on the show today. And I want to ask you, what does Lagan signify to you personally?
Um, well, Lagan, after 20 years, it's for me, it's really overwhelming that audiences are still liking the film, appreciating it. Generations that saw the film then have introduced it to the next generation, and they also are, reacting the same way that the first generation did when they saw it in the theater. So I think that is amazing. I feel the film has found its feet, and it's just, it's now become a phenomenon, if I may say so.
We know of the struggle that you went through to make Lagan, but what was the seed? What was the trigger for the film?
Well, the trigger for me was I wanted to make a story, tell a story about not one hero, but several heroes.
Hmm.
And my attempt was um, to explore the theme of unity, of how
Hmm.
different people with diverse backgrounds, with regards to social strata or religion, the caste system, how they forget their differences and how can they come together to fight a common enemy, achieve a common goal. And while doing that, I realized that my research take made me decide that I don't want to tell a story of violence. I don't want these people to fight the enemy in a violent way, but a non-violent way. And hence, then, if it's non-violence, why can't it be a sport? If it's a sport, then why cannot it be cricket? And why can't it be pre-independence times? So there was a constant. Every time I did a R&D, I realized that I wanted to add these layers, and finally became what it is, which is about the underdog achieving the impossible, or the oppressed people standing up against oppression and standing up against the oppressor. So I thought that became the seed. Cricket happens to be in the film,
Hmm.
so it's also about cricket.
Your point about non-violence really stands out because in that scene where they discover that Laka has been a traitor and been giving out their secrets, and Amir and he shuts himself in that room, and you're actually waiting
Temple
for the
in the
villagers to
temple.
beat him up,
Yeah.
and you're waiting for that to happen, and I remember that that you're waiting, and then it's some sort of anticlimactic when Amir just goes and talks to him, and that was a bit anticlimactic for that time because the typical response would have been for the villagers to beat him up or to even kill him.
Yeah. So that again was the aspect of uh, trying to give someone a second chance,
Hmm.
and Bhuvan does that there to the most dangerous adversary who has always created these problems. So that is a risk that they take there, and I think somewhere through the film, even in the opening sequence that you see when Bhuvan is trying to stop that deer from being killed, but he cannot save that deer.
Hmm.
But there's a constant thread of rebellion
Hmm.
in Bhuvan,
Hmm.
and he doesn't know how to express it. He's trying his own other ways. I mean, he's a farmer, simple farmer who wants to lead a simple life, but the British Raj is something that is affecting him. So when he takes up this bet, it's his attempt to, in some manner, get back and try and see how he can fight the empire. So I think the non-violence
You
is constantly running through Bhuvan and the team.
Yeah, through the story for sure.
Yeah.
And you went against all the norms of the industry at the time. You made a period film, it was a sports film. Then you cast Amir Khan like a superstar and you put him in a dhoti. So, why did you want to take a panga on so many fronts, so as to say?
My previous two films had not worked, and those two films are the real big pangas that I had taken. So I thought that if I have to now come back, at least let me make something that I will enjoy making.
Hmm.
It's a fantasy tale. It's a what if film, where this such things don't happen. But the way the structure was that you are seeing a what if film, but it's surrounded by so much of realism, so much of the world, especially the British Raj, or the lifestyle of the Rajas and the Maharajas, or the how the village was, the village construction was of how people lived in a village. All of that was real. But the bet, the wager of canceling their tax was the absurdity in the entire story. So I thought this is so unusual that if I have to go all, just go all out and either make this film and fail if I have to. Uh, but if I have to again direct, it has to be with this film, or I will not direct ever again. So it was a panga of sorts, but it was a panga too, I feel now, which has had, sweet dividends.
Absolutely. With your conviction that paid off.
Yeah.
And I know you approached a lot of stars. At that time we read this star had rejected it, that Sonali Bendre had wanted to be a part of it, but she was too model-esque for the role. We read of so many of these names. So tell us from yourself, Ashutosh, who are the people that you'd approached?
Actually, on the 20th year of Lagan now, I don't think I want to get into that. But yes, when Amir rejected, and he said that he finds the idea to be too bizarre, and he didn't have the courage at that time. I was my inception of the script was to have Amir play Bhuvan. But when he said no, then I had to recalibrate the film a little. I had to recalibrate the character a little to suit another actor, because you have to reassign a few characteristic traits. So I did that for about 6 months to a year, where I met a lot of people. But ultimately, I had to come back to Bhuvan. I think the character in the film had to come back to Bhuvan. And so when I came back, and probably Amir was also in a more receptive state of mind, because we all evolve. Every three months, 6 months, we are exchanging ideas. We're thinking of new things. So that probably benefited of me coming back, and him first deciding that yes, I want to play the part, and then finally saying that he wants to produce it.
To produce it as well, yes.
And that journey was very, very. That 1 year of going around meeting people and getting rejection was like really despairing. It was heartbreaking.
I can imagine, and who would have known it was such a winning script, right? Rejected on so many fronts. So when the film was made, Ashutosh, when did you know you had a good film on your hands? And when did you know you had a hit on your hands?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think when I saw the first cut of the film, which was a long first cut, it was a 4-hour plus cut, I thought that the film has turned out well. Everything that I ever imagined to be a part of the film I could see it. The characters were working, the romance was working, Elizabeth's romance, the cricket match, all of that was working. So I knew the film has been arrived upon. And not only me, even Amir, we were very quietly confident. We were not expressing it out because we were too embarrassed to express कि हमने क्या कमाल picture बनाई. It's not that. We were just, oh my God, this has to work. And then when we started having screenings, our first screening, which was for an audience, was in South Africa at the IFA, and almost the entire industry was there, who was attending the IFA Awards, and they happened to watch the film. And that is the screening that that was so overwhelming a response of people standing up at the end of the film and clapping away, like a ovation, and each one telling us about how good the film is, and as if telling us that we don't know what we have made. They were so excited. So that's where we really knew that we can now call the film a hit.
Wow. Ashutosh, you made such interesting casting choices. I think it was the largest number of English actors that were cast in a film, and every character really stands out. But for you, who proved to be the biggest surprise in the cast?
The biggest surprise in the cast? I would say a Kachra or a Badha, who really connected very well, because Bagha didn't have any lines. He had to only connect through his drum or through his guttural sounds that he was making. Kachra has only two dialogues in the entire film, and maybe a song. In the song, he has one line. But still, I thought they impacted audiences in a very big way. Of course, I won't even talk about Amir because Amir is such a big star. Him and playing Bhuvan, he was bound to create that impact.
Yeah. And
But
Amir, that time, everyone knew Amir would try something different.
yeah,
And we all knew that Amir would do something different and deliver. So you
yeah,
already have that expectation from him.
yeah.
That's true.
And the big impact was actually both the three women of the film. It was Gracie as Gauri, Rachel as Elizabeth, and Suhasini Muleji
Yeah.
as Mai. I think all the three women were not expected to. I mean, no one knew of most of the cast, but we knew Suhasini ji from an earlier film that she had done, and we knew Gracie from Amanat television series. Rachel, nobody knew anything about, but these three really surprised audiences then, and they continue to surprise because the only women power in the film
Yeah.
is represented through these three women, and all the three women empower Bhuvan in their own different ways.
Absolutely. There was this kind of quiet power that all of them lent to the film, for sure. I agree. And, we've all seen Madness in the Desert, the documentary. And one of my favorite parts is when you all live together and you used to come together in a room, and the entire cast used to sing Ghanan Ghanan, with Rahman also present, who's just looking upon. And, that's really goosebump inducing. What were your kind of goosebump inducing moments on the sets?
I think every scene has got a high point.
Hmm.
Every scene has got a moment in the of any script I'm saying. I'm not just saying Lagan. Any script usually has one high point. That's the end of the scene or some important line in the film. Every time we would capture that particular line from the scene, it was a goosebump moment because I had lived so long, almost 3 years with the script. I knew the entire dialogue backwards. So to give you an example, when Bhuvan says "Sarat Manjoor hai,"
Hmm.
that's a goosebump moment. You know, when he says चूल्हे से रोटी निकाले के लिए चिमटे को अपना मुंह जला ही पड़ी.
Hmm.
When he's telling all the villagers. Now that's another line which is a goosebump moment. Or even Puran Singh when he says उनका खेल सीखो.
Hmm. Yeah.
These are some finalities that are being thrown right through the film. And for me, capturing those lines day after day gave a sense of fulfillment that the film is getting pieced together, scene by shot by shot and scene by scene.
And how much do you think the music lifted that, because the music is also completely iconic, so dramatic, and it really is a marker of its time.
Oh, I would straight away say if the film is at a 5 out of 10, if it's at 5, Rahman took the film to 10. That's the kind of upliftment that he did to it. Not only the songs but the background score. I thought the background score was incredible. Uh, it really captured the essence of the film. It captured Bhuvan's angst. It captured the British teams. The overpowering sense of we are the victors and we are the rulers. That aspect of it. The jealousy aspect of Gauri. There are so many. I mean, there are countless, but all of these got really enhanced by Rahman.
By Rahman,
And the
absolutely.
songs, of course, him and Javed Saab both, because words and music always go together. Just a tune of a song on its own never stands, or just lyrics never stand. It has to be the two of them. So I think Javed Saab and Rahman were incredible.
Yeah, the rhythm and the music, the onomatopoeia of Ghanan Ghanan is just something that is unbeatable even today. Also, that time, when the internet was not so common, and we didn't know all these facts, to have Amitabh Bachchan's voice kind of boom right in the beginning was so interesting to so many, and like a pleasant surprise as well. How did you convince him to be a part of it?
Well, Amit ji had previously done quite a few films in which he's given voiceovers, and he was not averse to the idea. When we met him, we narrated the script to him, told him what kind of script and why we want him to be the voice of God one more time. And he forewarned us, that he had a reservation about giving his voice to films, because sometimes films that he's lent his voice to had not worked. So we were embracing that fact with him. We said it does not matter. We want him to be a part of the movie. And somewhere when he says 1893 Champaner, you straight away are willing to enter that world because you're comforted by his voice and his invitation to come be a part of the story.
Along with that music, of course, that
Yeah.
I'm not even going to attempt it, but we all know the music I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Of course, it had a great journey at the theaters, and that's not where the journey ended. It had an Oscar journey as well,
Yeah.
and we keenly followed it, because we felt like with Amir Khan's might, this was the first time we had a real chance at the Oscar, because he had the power to lobby, which is required for the award. So tell me about that. What was your Oscar journey? Because as viewers, we were so hopeful of winning it.
Yeah, so when Amir and me both went to LA for the first time, we knew no one there. And we were just two guys from India who have come and who were representing the film. And there was this very popular song, which was Do Bechare Bina Sahare. It's a Hindi song. So Amir and me would often sing that while walking the streets of LA, saying Do Bechare Bina Sahare. And how are we going to, start trying to convince people to see the film? And so we started really at the bottom with, we had one point person there who was our coordinator. Her name was Madhu Kapoor. She helped us a lot in trying to reach out to scores of people who were from different faculties. There was an actor, there were producers, there were other assistants. I mean, whoever, it did not matter to us. We wanted to make sure that more and more people saw the film in LA. And I think somewhere that kind of an approach, which was so passion ridden, finally found us an audience there who saw it and started talking about it. Did you see the film from India? Did you see the film from India? Oh, it's pretty long, but it's an interesting film. So that kind of started a word of mouth process. And finally, the Academy actually saw it. Years later, in fact, I would say about 5 or 6 years ago, when Mr. Spielberg was here in India, and all of us filmmakers had gone to meet him, he mentioned to me there that he loved the film and he had voted for it. So he had voted for Lagan. And he also was quite surprised that how come we did not win. So that means he knew that there were other votes that went to the Bosnian film, No Man's Land.
Was it No Man's Land?
No Man's Land, yes.
Yes, because I remember calling my mother and asking, did we win? And she said, no, it's a film called No Man's Land, which is, of course, like a superb standout film. It's still a classic today. But what a film to compete and lose to,
Yeah. I know, and that was an anti-war statement. And at that time, there was so much of war and strife in East Europe and many other countries that an anti-war statement was something that the Academy jury felt like giving their vote for.
Absolutely. They always take their political stands. But for the fact that Steven Spielberg voted for Lagan over No Man's Land, I mean, you must have been over the moon. No?
Absolutely. We were, both of us, Amir, and we were just ecstatic.
I can't even imagine. But first to have him watch your film and then to vote for it. Which brings me to my last question, actually, Ashutosh. The film has been part of so many prestigious lists, top 10 films of the decade, top 10 films of the millennium. Which list is very close to your heart, or which award that has it won over these last 20 years that you hold very close to your heart?
However cliched it may sound, I think when school kids who are from the 4th and the 5th standard, this happened a month ago, when they saw the film recently for the first time and they started dancing to Mitwa, and they started, singing Chale Chalo and sending me videos of how they are doing the Mitwa step. I think that for me is the real, that's the list I want to be in. I want to be in the list of kids where kids vote for Lagan as their favorite film, even today, which I find is amazing. And I feel blessed that we are a part of that. And I feel that it's a big pat on the back for the entire cast and crew, all the team members, everyone who went out there and made the film. This is the greatest pat, I would say.
Out of the mouths of babes, absolutely. It's a film that not only they dance to, but anytime one song comes on, you can't just listen to one. You go and play a few more, you play the entire album. And I had a lot of fun preparing for this interview because I got to watch Madness in the Desert, Chale Chalo, the
Oh, you did?
lunacy of
Okay.
filmmaking.
Okay.
Yes, I did. It was absolutely when I got to relive the film again. And there's so many moments when you feel proud, and I'm not even a part of the film, so I can't imagine the feeling that you must have being associated with such a classic. Thank you so much, Ashutosh, for joining me today. It was
Lovely,
very
lovely.
kind with you.
Lovely to chat with you.
Lovely,
Thank you.
lovely. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye. Take
Bye.
care.